So here recently on the channel, we've been giving spring practices and recruiting in the class of 2024 the lion's share of attention, but today we need to revisit the class of 2023 because even though signing day is in the books and it's behind us, there's still a prospect in the class of 2023 that remains uncommitted, and of course today we're talking about Duce Robinson. We need to break this situation down because here recently two more crystal balls have been inserted in favor of the USC Trojans over the likes of the Georgia Bulldogs and the Texas Longhorns, and today we need to talk about it. But before we can, as always, y'all know the drill. I have got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you believe USC gets a huge win over the likes of Georgia and Texas? Let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below. Those interactions seem small, but they are massive for content creators such as myself, and we're on a push to 20,000 subscribers. I'd love to have you a part of the community, but having said all that, let's jump right into this. And before we can really break this down, we need to ask the question, who is Duce Robinson? Well, Duce Robinson is rated as the number 17 prospect in the class of 2023, and he remains uncommitted. He is the number 1 tight end in the nation and one of the most coveted prospects in a class loaded with dudes. I talked about it all of the time. Really, once the class of 2022 was in the books, I was sitting here on camera telling all of you the class of 2023 is absolutely loaded, and it was because of guys like Duce Robinson. I mean, top to bottom, that was a phenomenal class, but let's refocus in a bit because I'm known to go on tangents. Duce Robinson is an individual who I've been watching closely throughout his recruiting process because he is an intriguing individual. First off, he stands 6'6", 225 pounds, and plays the tight end position. And if you are at all familiar with my content, you'll know I talk about tight ends and running backs all the time, especially whenever we're talking about institutions that may be breaking in a new quarterback, maybe breaking in a new offensive coordinator, or both. Because if you have either one of those situations, a new quarterback or a new offensive coordinator, one easy way to start generating offense is good tight end play, good running back play. They can be your quarterback, they can be your offensive coordinator's best friend. So whenever the number 1 tight end in the nation is looking around, looking at the institutions offering him, and the institutions you're seeing are Georgia, Texas, and USC, I'm going to take note. But what's more, whenever we're talking about Duce Robinson, this is an incredible baseball player as well. I mean, he could play professional baseball and nobody would bat an eyelash. So anytime you have these individuals that are that gifted in multiple sports, I find it intriguing. But let's talk about the battle that we're watching right now between Texas, between USC, and between Georgia. Because for the longest time, it looked like the Georgia Bulldogs were set to win this commitment. They had crystal balls inserted in their favor, and we know what Georgia has done with that tight end position, where their tight end room was such a mismatch for all defenses in college football, and it was really able to help that Georgia offense generate offense, an offense that was a lot better than people gave them credit for this past season, and that was something we were talking about here on the channel very early on into the season. I kept bringing people's attention to, hey, this Georgia defense, it's legit. It deserves all the praise in the world. This offense is really clicking right now. And that was an offense that was much more potent than people were willing to give them credit for. And part of the reason why was the balance Todd Monken had that offense operating under. Whether you took away the running back play, they had wide receivers and tight ends. If you took away the tight end, which I'm not sure how you did it, but if you did it, they had running backs and wide receivers to get the ball to. Suffice to say, that was a very balanced offense, but the tight ends were a massive reason why. So it made complete sense whenever the number 1 tight end in the nation looked at the situation, saw the tight end usage, and said, that's a place I'm interested in going in. I don't think anybody in college football recruiting, anybody in high school football recruiting was surprised at all to see the crystal ball started to be inserted in favor of the Georgia Bulldogs. But Texas and USC never gave up, and first, we'll start with Texas, because the Texas Longhorns are a program where whenever we're talking about guys going for offense, it makes complete sense whenever they want to play for a Steve Sarkisian. He is an offensive mastermind, and so whenever you see a Duce Robinson express interest in the Texas Longhorns, it makes complete sense. You have Steve Sarkisian as your head coach. You have good quarterback play that's set to be there for quite some time because they just got in a 5-star, the number 1 player in the class of 2023, Arch Manning. And no matter where you believe Arch Manning should be ranked, he absolutely moves the needle. That much is not up for debate. He is a guy that moves the needle, and we saw the avalanche occur the second he committed to that Texas class, where several guys committed. That's an individual who piqued interest in that Longhorns class, and Duce Robinson was an individual who was interested. Now, as time has gone on, this has looked more and more like a battle between USC and Georgia, but it is important to note, because Texas is a heavyweight recruiting institution, they were involved in this battle. They were one of the three teams that I was really watching closely, but finally, we need to talk about the team that looks like they're set to win the Duce Robinson sweepstakes. Because whenever we're talking about recruiting, there's a guy in the industry that whenever he drops a crystal ball, we have an adjective just for his crystal ball insertion. And that's getting Fong, Steve Wiltfong for 24/7 Sports, one of the best in all of sports, let alone college football. Whenever he drops a recruiting prediction, you know his information is as good as it gets from anybody. And he dropped a crystal ball prediction here recently for Duce Robinson to end up with the USC Trojans. And kind of piggybacking off of what I said for the Texas Longhorns, a lot of that same logic carries over to USC in terms of going to a head coach that plays to your strengths. Duce Robinson is a tight end. You go to a head coach that's considered an offensive mastermind, someone who's more likely to get you the ball or have a creative offensive scheme that will allow you to have more opportunity. So that much makes complete sense to me. And furthermore, whenever we look at USC, they are a few pieces off from being a really dangerous team. Now, we talked about this the other day. I'm of the mindset that you cannot have a complete disregard for one side of the football. And because of that, I don't know that USC is set to go on a national championship run if they don't fix that defense. But if they get that defense better, watch out, because this USC team is dangerous. So make no mistake, I'm not saying that Lincoln Riley and USC are never going to win a national championship or not going to win playoffs. I'm saying if you don't have a regard for the defensive side of the football, you may make the college football playoffs. I have no doubt they have that ability. They were 2 games away this past season, and I didn't think they'd be that close. They were very, very impressive. You may have the ability to make the college football playoffs. Are you going to win the game? Because we've seen time and time again teams make it to the college football playoffs that only have a regard for one side of the football, and that's where it all ends. And maybe that'll be the case, but if USC starts getting this defense together, make no mistake, this is going to be a dangerous team. And I say all that, they're not going to pass up on a Duce Robinson. Look, your offense is already so potent, but if you can keep adding in more potency to it, you absolutely do it. Why wouldn't you? And Duce Robinson is about as good as they get. Like I said, 6'6", 225. You pair him with Caleb Williams. I'm excited for USC, and I've maintained that point for quite some time, that I am really excited to see how Lincoln Riley continues turning around USC, because he had a phenomenal year one, much better than I thought they would be, and this was a team that really struggled the year prior. And Lincoln Riley came in there with some players and really turn that program around. And I'm so excited to see if this defense for the Trojans can continue making strides. Because I'm not saying you have to be a top 10 defense, but if you can be a top 30 defense, top 25 defense in college football, you're cooking now. With that Lincoln Riley offense, you are cooking, and that's a dangerous team. I can't wait to see what happens with USC, but there is no mistake. I know we talked a lot about defense in this video, because I have no doubt that Lincoln Riley and USC is going to field a potent offense. With or without Duce Robinson, they're going to field a potent offense. This is a truth we can all accept. With Duce Robinson, that offense is a lot more dangerous, and I think everybody in the nation would agree with me there. But I can't wait to hear from all of you. Hop down to the comments and let me know what you're thinking. That's it. See ya.